Supplementary, the member from Elgin, Middlesex, London.
Speaker, my questions to the Premier. Premier, last session I worked very hard to try to get my private member's bill, Ryan's Law, passed through committee so that it could be into law before the election. Unfortunately, Premier, this didn't occur. I will be reintroducing Ryan's Law, which will protect the 20% of students with asthma. However, with a majority government, opposition bills tend to get shelved regardless of how vital they are. I hope this doesn't happen with Ryan's Law, Premier, because it would suggest that your government would be willing to sacrifice the safety of our children in order to deny a Tory MPP bill. Premier, Ryan's Law is important. It will protect children with asthma, and it's that simple. Premier, when I reintroduce Ryan's Law, will you commit to doing everything you can to ensure its quick passage?
Thank you, Premier.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I want to commend the member for putting forward this legislation. I think that private members' bills are extremely important, and from my perspective, as I said earlier, it doesn't matter where good ideas come from, Mr. Speaker, and if we can find ways to help kids in schools who have asthma to be safer, Mr. Speaker, then obviously we have to do that. So the committee that will be looking at, I assume the member opposite will reintroduce Ryan's Law, will reintroduce this piece of legislation, and the committee will need to look at it. And as I said, Mr. Speaker, if we can find ways to make sure that kids in schools, kids who have asthma, are safer, then we have an obligation to do that, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Speaker. Premier, the best way to ensure this bill gets passed is to ensure that your House Leader works to get my bill back to the forefront of committee. Premier, during the election campaign, I heard a very discouraging story, another story, and this was from a young girl. She told me she suffered an asthma attack on the bus while traveling to school. However, due to current regulations of school board policies that do not allow children to carry the relief puffers, she had to sit through the bus ride during her asthma attack, wait until the bus got to the school, get off the bus, and then find a teacher who was responsible for giving her an inhaler so that she could attain some relief. Premier, that story should frighten you. Had the attack been more severe, the outcome could have been far more tragic, just like poor Ryan in Stratfordville. That's why Ryan's Law is so important. Among other things, it permits children to carry the relief inhalers at all times, provided they have permission from the health care providers. Premier, we can't wait.
Question.
When Ryan's Law passes second reading, will you make it a priority to help it get it through committee?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And as I said, it's very important to me that where there are situations where we can put in place a structure, put in place a law, put in place a regulation that is going to keep kids safer, then obviously, Mr. Speaker, we need to do that. And so as this piece of legislation goes through, and when it goes to committee, Mr. Speaker, then the committee needs to deal with it. But certainly to try to make sure that we put the right regulations in place. One of the things, Mr. Speaker, though, that I would need to just say to the member opposite is, first of all, there are a lot of pieces of legislation that are introduced, and a lot of them have a huge merit, Mr. Speaker. But the other thing is we need to sort out what's school board policy and what's provincial law, where are the interactions between those things, Mr. Speaker, and I think it's very important that as a piece of legislation like this goes through, that we examine that and make sure that it's not something that's happening at the local level as opposed to the provincial level that's the problem.
Thank you. Your question, the member.